Hi friends. As we continue our exploration of the Gospel of Mark, we are paying special attention to the aspect of the landscape in the text, the way that space and place and topography communicates something about the good news for Mark as he writes the Gospel. Elizabeth Malbin, who is a New Testament scholar I've been drawing a lot on as I prepare the sermons, says that there are 151 topographical relations in the Gospel of Mark. The first 2/3 of the story, which we're still in our 11 sermon series, is situated in the region of Galilee. It is all around the Sea of Galilee, which is a major actor in this drama that Mark is iterating here. And Galilee represents the familiar in the story, the region that feels like home to Jesus and the disciples. It is a representation of order. And that is a reversal of expectations for those who would be reading this text or hearing this text originally. The region of Judea, the place where Jerusalem, the religious center, the home of the temple, that would have more understandably represented a place of order for the original hearers, but Mark is doing something almost akin to what Jesus does with the parables. He tells a story that reverses the expectations of the hearer, and he's doing that with the very land itself. Galilee representing the pole of the familiar, and Judea representing the pole of the unfamiliar. And as we'll see soon enough in the text, Judea representing the landscape of threat for Jesus and for the disciples. And in the end, I want you to pay special attention to this when we get there in the sermons. In the end, Mark will use flashbacks and flash forwards to hearken back to Galilee. It's a really interesting way that Mark uses the space and the landscape in the text to tell this story. And this week in the sermon, we'll see Jesus ask his disciples to move slightly beyond the familiar, beyond their own people, beyond their own religion, to the area of Bethsaida. And this is a place that will represent some sense of unfamiliarity, still in the region of Galilee, right near the shores of the sea, but on the other side from a lot of their activity. And it reminded me as I was reading this text in preparation for this coming Sunday's sermon about how these texts of travel and ministry were used and drawn upon when I was growing up as a kid, hearing the stories of Southern Baptist missionaries going to foreign lands to tell the good news of Jesus, and how we were all sort of on the edge of our seats wondering if we would sense that call to foreign missions. They never told us that Bethsaida is about 25 miles away from Nazareth, Jesus' hometown. So it can be deceptive how this story makes it sound as if there are kind of extensive travels going on, when really the entire region of the modern state of Israel is about the size of New Jersey. So all within a pretty small geographical area. But I think that makes it even more powerful how much the landscape within this region can communicate familiarity and unfamiliarity, threat and safety, order and chaos. And I wanted to invite you to think about that for yourself. How landscape and how features of the landscape and how regions, even as small as the one we live in here in New England, can communicate the affect, the feel of familiarity and unfamiliarity, feeling at home and feeling like one has moved beyond one's sense of order and place, of safety and security and familiarity, even if only 25 miles away. And I wanted to invite you, as we enter this next section of the text, to think about what that sense of call toward risk and toward unfamiliarity is feeling like in your life right now. I'm guessing for most of you it's not a call to, foreign missions as we heard about it growing up, and as some of you have lived on the field of foreign missions. But there may be a call bound up in this that is emerging for you as faith is being awakened in you through new encounters with Jesus in the gospel narrative of Mark, that is beckoning you beyond the familiar, beyond the ordered places of safety and security and well-trod paths in your life, towards something that feels a bit more risky, unfamiliar, an invitation to experimentation even. So I hope that you might sit with that kind of question as we move into the next stage of Mark's narrative this Sunday together, continuing to listen to how the landscape is communicating both in Mark's narrative and in our own life.